Okay,
Good.
well, then it didn't matter, Dave. All of that knowledge he had of the course was irrelevant.
John Daniel is ready.
I know. That's
Ready?
what I said. Strike everything I just said.
Okay, we got a guest.
Here we go.
How we doing?
We're good. John, how about you?
Oh, great. Good to see you, Chad.
You too. You're with us until 10, right?
Absolutely. Yep. Taking us home. Gonna land the plane.
I come up with these crazy ideas in my head, and they sound great until I look at the clock. We still have 6.5 hours to go, but we're doing good. We're doing good. It's a pleasure, and I'm sure you echo this sentiment. It's a pleasure getting to talk to the student athletes and seeing the type of kids that you guys have in that building representing the university.
Yeah, absolutely. Every day we're in kind of a unique physical space here, just right in the heart of campus, and all of the athletics department and all of our teams in this building in and out every day. And it's really cool to see, the personalities and the diversity and just the, optimism and excitement that comes through the doors every day. It's a special place.
Thank you, Jim Wolf. $51.30 donated. Much appreciated. Is there an option to sign up for automatic monthly donations? I believe there is that option through Cincy Reigns. I think what we're running today is a one-time kind of like a flash sale, I guess, type deal.
Yeah,
it's not the right wording, but it's similar to that. John, you are an expert in what is happening over on campus next to Jefferson Avenue. Give us an update. Give us a little bit of what's happening as the indoor practice facility is continuing to look more and more like a real building.
It is. Yeah, it's very exciting. So we were fortunate enough just last week to get our latest walkthrough tour over there, and hopefully soon we'll be bringing another Hard Hat Wednesday episode out for the fans. But what we've been able to see is, like you said, just been tremendous progress. So the latest update I got as of this morning is that this week the plan is to start pouring the concrete for the third floor roof of the actual Performance Center building. So you can see those large columns and trusses that have been going up, and we're about halfway done with the field, I'd say. From the indoor practice facility portion of it, you can see that steel is really starting to fly, which is really cool. And then the building has come a long way, and the floors are starting to really take shape, and you can start to identify where offices are going to be, where the training room is going to be, where the locker room is going to be. So it's really impressive once you get to walk that space and you see how physically imposing and massive and impactful this building will be. Not just on the corner of our campus, kind of an architectural centerpiece befitting of our campus, but also just kind of a gateway into the athletics varsity village. And then just, the sheer amount of space that it occupies for just football on one side of the building, and then with the all athletic dining facility on the other half as well. So really special and really excited about it.
How hard is it to go through this long process from the very start, just knowing that you're waiting 2-3 years to get to the end part of it, to when it's finally finished?
Sure, it is. It's a challenge, and it takes a lot of great coordination and effort. One of the things that we were talking about today, was slotted for an hour meeting on furniture, and it went for 2.5. And it's just, we're down in the nitty gritty, right? Okay, do the office chairs at the conference table have arms, or do they not have arms? And what is the back made of? And then what about this tile on this floor? So luckily we have some interior designers that really know what they're doing. Those kind of conversations have always been delegated to my better half for my moves around the country. So I'm certainly able to give my opinion, although I'm not sure how much it really counts. But when you go through those, it's you don't think of maybe all the levels of decisions that go into the building of that size. But it has been really cool to kind of really start to see it come to life, because for the longest time we're looking at a big hole in the ground, and we're looking at plans, and this is where things are going to be. And now that we can see it start to really physically take shape, then it all of a sudden kind of starts to have more meaning.
Gotcha.
You don't just hire one of those fancy interior decorators to come in and the couch is here, chairs there.
We do have one. MSA Sports has provided one, which has been great. So I think, football has a little bit of a veto authority on a couple of things here and there. And okay, maybe the materials in the players' lounge should be a little bit more durable than your typical office lounge, right? And what's the weight limit on those chairs again? So discussions like that are always fun to have.
That's a surprisingly valid question for the University of Cincinnati, since Dante Corleone broke a chair after the Pitt game earlier this year.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. The ones that we saw said 500 pounds. So
okay.
The designers asked if we were good with that, and we said, yeah, I think we're good with that.
Wonder whatever happened to that chair.
When you are going through the process, looking at all the renderings, the indoor field, just how imposing the building looks from the outside, the inside, which specific part of it are you most looking forward to experiencing?
So I think really the functionality and the natural flow that's going to come from the team space is what I'm kind of most excited to see. So, I mean, it just kind of progresses on the floor plan. It goes from the equipment room where all their gear and stuff is going to be housed and organized and clean. And then the pass-throughs into the locker room, obviously, which will be exciting. And, we're looking at graphics packages and the locker designs and all that kind of stuff. And then, in through a car wash area to get into the hydro, which is always cool to see. I haven't gotten to do one of those unveilings where, you put the raincoat on and you get to go through and get sprayed down, and then straight into the training room, and then from the training room straight into the weight room. So I just feel like it creates such a cohesive flow that's going to be used, every day by these guys. And so that part, I think I'm really excited to see, come to life. Yeah.
Gotcha.
We've heard all about how this indoor practice facility is going to benefit the football team and in all the ways that they're going to be able to use so much of the facility. But what are some of the other ways that some of the other programs are going to be able to take advantage of the indoor practice facility, and what kind of benefits are those programs going to have from using it?
Sure. So one of the other, obviously football will be able to use it, right? And I think that'll come with a couple of major benefits. One is protection from the weather. And then the other one is we'll actually have a closed facility to practice in, which is a little unique as we know it. Here at UC, we've got open facilities everywhere. So that'll give us a little bit of protection every now and then when we want to put in some new sets and new plays, but from the wandering eyes of the public. But the other pieces for the sports, other than football, it's going to be open for, soccer, lacrosse, baseball. We're looking at having some netting in that facility, potentially dropping down from the ceiling with having cages and kind of giving some immediate use space there for baseball, because as we've seen, right, we're just kind of landlocked and land constricted on where we can build and how much we can. So those are the sports right off the bat. And then even training for tracks and basketballs and others, we'll have they'll be able to utilize the armory, which is now back in use and beautiful, but indoor running and conditioning, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, definitely full use of the spectrum from our programs.
Can you get him a water real quick?
I'm out of mine. That's Henry's job.
No, I'll be all right.
You got Hanson.
Can we get a water?
John's leaving it all on the field right now. My goodness.
Just got out of a 2-hour campus budget meeting. You're just putting us through the ringer today.
It's like your flu game, John. In terms of just the overall timeline, how is that coming along? How are, I know initially they were talking about maybe the field opening before the performance center. What is I know construction delays and everything that's going on right now make things, the supply chain make things a little more difficult. Where are things at in terms of the current timeline?
Sure. So yeah, from what we've learned is that I guess we're not unique in the world of construction timelines and challenges. And We were told that, there's battery factories that are being built in the greater Southern Ohio area that are taking up an enormous amount of contractors and subcontractors work. So things like you never thought that would affect an athletics facility are coming into play. But you're right, Chad. Initially, it was kind of a two-phase. Okay, the field's going to open, and then the performance center open afterwards. And due to some construction delays and then some financing decisions, they said, hey, we're actually going to be able to knock out some efficiencies if we open this with one bang instead of splitting it into two. Appreciate it. And so right now we've kind of got a late spring of 2025 target date. So maybe, we'd love to get the team in there for spring practice, but as of right now, we're not counting on it. But it could be right after spring practice. Construction's done, kind of turned over to us. We can kind of begin that move in next summer. And then, the team will obviously go to higher ground in August of 25. And then really when they come back from higher ground would be the goal to have them move right into that building ready for the 25 season.
Times
Keegan,
like this,
you got
Chad.
lucky. Keegan, you got lucky this year because we were outside at Nippert, but it was a pretty nice spring.
It was
in Cincinnati. We have done those Nippert Stadium spring practices before that were not pleasant. So I remember Tim Adams one year standing in a poncho, like full rain gear, with his notepad out, taking notes, and the notes just smearing like as the rain came down. And we got lucky on that front. Go ahead, Aaron. Sorry.
I was just gonna say, it sounds like this. I kind of wish we had a guy like Brent on the show asking a very long-winded question, so John could make sure that he got enough water and got everything back to good. Because Brent will go on with a 350-word question, and it's just the way it goes. But I was just kind of curious, John, what it's like to be part of the Johns, to work with John Cunningham as intricately as you do, and what that working relationship is like with John and what you've learned from him.
Yeah, it's been awesome. So it's not a coincidence that I go by JD around the office, just because once you have more than one John, right? It's like, okay, John is the John, and then JD for me. So I think, John Cunningham is really the reason that I'm here at Cincinnati. I had gotten to know him years ago. At the time I was at TCU, which was a former stop of his, and he was at Minnesota at the time. And when he got this job, we had stayed in touch, and then the opportunity came open here, and we just reconnected with him and had to sell the wife, right, and the family of, hey, I know we just got back to Baton Rouge and our family's here and our friends are here, but gosh, I really like this guy and I really want to work for him. And I called my wife after I went down to dinner with John when he had flown down with the team for the Tulane game in the 2021 season. And I said, I really, really like him. And she said, I knew you were going to say that. And so, but he's just been awesome as a mentor and a leader of our department. And I feel like I've learned a lot just from him being on the day-to-day thing. He says, and I think a lot of this is true, that 90% of what he deals with is human resources. And it doesn't mean that it's all paperwork and, evaluations, although a big part of it, right? But just making sure that you have the right people in the right spots to be set up to be successful for the team. And that he's big on soft skills and he's big on feedback. And I think those are things that he really excels at, and pulls me in and does a great job of, hey, look, we're not trying to hide the ball from anybody. We gave a departmental presentation to our all staff a couple of weeks ago, and I just laid out the finances and all the projections for the next few years and kind of laid it out there. And I got a lot of great feedback that, wow, we've never heard this before. It's always been just what our budget is. Right. And so I think we kind of followed John's lead in that way of, hey, let's be honest and open and share the information. And if we have updates, we'll give you updates, but we're not trying to hide anything from you. And so, working for him has been great. And he knows that my long-term goal is to be an athletic director. And I'm really fortunate that he's doing everything he can to help prepare me for that opportunity one day. So can't have enough good things to say about working for John.
So you are the one good thing to come out of a decade worth of road trips to Tulane.
That's pretty good.
Dave, you got anything?
We should have did this at the outset, but kind of explain to the fans that are watching, what is your title and then what are your main responsibilities?
Sure. So yeah, absolutely. So Deputy Athletics Director and Athletics Department CFO, and then I serve as our football sport administrator. So basically what that means is I oversee our business office, so all the budget, all the accounts receivable and payables, and also human resources, so all of our personnel matters in across the whole department. Our travel, so we manage 2 travel agents that serve the needs for all of our teams for recruiting and team travel, and then really football's kind of my other area of oversight, which works out well because they're obviously a major revenue source for our budget, which ties in directly to my CFO role. And then they can be expensive sometimes too. So it's good to kind of have both sides of the coin there of overseeing the finances and then also having our highest volume sport in that way. So directly report to John as well as our campus CFO, Pat Kowalski. So we're very, very tied at the hip with our campus on the financial things, which has been great. Just the institutional support for finances is, I feel like, a big part of my role. And that John had, whenever he talked to me about this position, he said, hey, the University of Cincinnati is our biggest donor and will continue to be until the Big 12 full share comes in. And we really need to maintain that relationship. And so I feel like that's kind of another big piece of what I do is trying to get across the aisle, if you will, the campus and build those and keep those bridges that have been built from the past. So never a dull moment for sure.
Never a dull moment. Kind of going back to the IPF, how collaborative are you with Coach Satterfield, maybe even Aaron Hemler, Bob Mangine, Michael Rayfeld, and just what their vision is for it, since they are going to be the people that are in there basically every day?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's a big part of it. We have meetings where we'll get the end users in the room. So Nico in the weight room, Aaron in the training room, Greg Bruner, and we just hired JD Jordan in the equipment room. And then, Coach Satterfield, Luke Mullet, Brad Wicke, coaches' offices, team rooms, that kind of thing. And so we kind of have to have a little bit of a dual approach where, we know we're building it for the University of Cincinnati athletics program and for football, but we know we know who the occupants are going to be, right? But we don't want to necessarily build an entire building based off of 1 or 2 people's taste of how they would do things. So it's a little bit of a balance of, okay, what are things that we can change, right? Like we feel fairly confident that we don't want to change the furniture for 5 years, right? So okay, you can have more impact on what maybe the look of the feel is on the furniture, but maybe not as much the grand atrium's floor, right? Because we hope to never change that. So but definitely has been a good process of getting across pollination, if you will, of feedback. I
wanted to ask John, along those same lines, is we've seen the public and all the renderings and everything, but from like a truly like inside perspective, what amenities or what elements do you think the athletes will be most excited about once everything's actually real to them? I mean, of course, locker room, weight room, stuff like that, but are there any things that maybe don't require a full-on rendering for us to see, but that you guys are working on that is specifically for the athletes that will kind of be like, oh, I went on a visit to UC and they had this? I mean, I know we're probably not talking waterfalls and putt-putt courses, but stuff along those lines that are really, truly catered to the athletes.
Yeah, sure. So I feel like there's some really good things in there, primarily around the student athlete health and wellness and rehabilitation space. So we know that rehab has been kind of the latest trend across the Power Five. Of previously, it was, hey, you've got a football ops building, right? We know you're going to have a big team room, and we know you're going to have film rooms, and we know you're going to have a training room. But what about recovery, rest and recovery and treatment, and kind of all the latest and greatest in those areas, and not having to go outside to do that? So we're going to have X-ray, we're going to have a cryo chamber. We're going to have float beds. We're going to have a float tank. We're going to have a steam room, a sauna, 4 hydro pools, mental health space. So I just feel like it's kind of really going to be this cool, 360-degree wellness opportunities there for football and others to use as well. Primarily football, right? But obviously they're not going to be afraid to share if needed. And we feel like we're kind of backfill with some upgrades here in the Lindner Center. But I think when you go in that building, it'll be very clear that this is a one-stop shop, and you're going to have everything you need to be successful here at Cincinnati.
I know, if you go on the IPF's website and everything, there are opportunities for donations, for naming rights and things of that nature, all the way down to basically almost every room that's potentially in that facility. How is that? I mean, I don't know how tied into that campaign you are, but from how is that going from reaching out to donors and getting the dollars that are so crucial for those things, and how is the Bearcat Journal Media podcast studio coming along as well?
So we do have a media area in there, a photo shoot space, kind of a creative suite. So that we'd love to get you all in there for sure. So I think I am pretty tied in on the finance side, right? Because we've got an obligation to campus to meet a fundraising goal, and we've got opportunities maybe to fund some things once the building's open if needed. But we'd love to get it all for day one, and I'd say we're well on our way to meeting that goal. I think now that things are really starting to take shape physically, and we can start to actually walk people in the space. The things we already talked about, just the enormity of it and the impact that you're going to be able to see when you're actually on site is helping us. I think we've got potentially some good news coming that'll push us very, very close to our final goal, which will be tremendous. But our UCATS team and that website has been a big help for us. And but yeah, we're still there. Still could use some help, either for anybody that's open for giving us support the facility, and/or since you reigns here on 513 Day, we certainly appreciate it.
I think there was a janitor's closet that I had my eye on for Bearcat Journal sponsorship. The Bearcat Journal janitor's closet.
Maybe where they keep all the trash compactors for the rumpy trucks to pull up. We can maybe sponsor that area.
We've got some mechanical rooms with
that's what I'm saying. Yeah, slap just the BCJ logo right there, right on top of it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll do some guerrilla marketing when they take the media through there. We'll just randomly slap BCJ stickers all over the place and see how many they can find.
Dave, if we do that, John is going to send me a bill.
It's true, but he's not sending me the bill.
He said he had an ace in the hole that's going to get him over the hump. You just beat him to the punch.
Yeah.
That was a good hint. Yeah,
that was me. As the financial guy, I guess it needs to be asked when things like revenue sharing with athletes are talked about. Are you guys maybe in an interesting position where that you don't have that money yet? So now when you look forward to budgeting that money, you are not subtracting or taking away from where your budget kind of already was placed and located. And now you can say, as we are onboarding this money in 2025, when you become a full share member, you can do so with the knowledge that, we're going to probably have to set this aside.
Yeah, it's a great point, Chad, that we're in a little bit of a unique position because of the Big 12 revenue distribution plan that we're on as a half share in the current year and a half share for next year before going to a full share in 25-26. So, and the math, frankly, kind of starts to line up where, this increase that we're going to see as we go from half to full is essentially in the ballpark of what we're potentially talking about with these revenue share distributions. So now the original plan, as you might imagine, right, was, hey, the university has made these tremendous investments in athletics and positioned us to get in the Big 12. And at some point there would be a return on that investment, and that would come through the distributions of the much higher TV revenues that the Big 12 has compared to others, that the work to get out of the American and all these other expenses that were incurred would a little bit be recouped by those on the back end by the university. And I think that's going to be kind of an ongoing discussion as the landscape shifts under our feet. But on a high level, you're right, there is that opportunity where at least we're not in a point of, hey, how would we come up with 15 to $25 million immediately that other schools are going to have to start from zero and not have that, where at least we know, hey, that money is coming our way. Now let's see how we want to manage it and the level of institutional support that we've gotten in the past, and what are the expectations there, and what's the best use of that new Big 12 revenue that comes in. But it's getting to almost daily types of discussions with regard to that, and it'll be fascinating to see kind of where it all lands.
I imagine there's nothing less fun as a CFO type that is told, hey, by the way, next year you need to trim $22 million out of what we're already spending. I would guess that doesn't go over well.
Right.
And
yeah. Not an
you
enviable.
don't have that money yet.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Goodness
God,
gracious.
I mean, it's a wild new world.
It is that we do one of those shows, it feels like right now, about once a week, where we talk about the NIL and all of that, or whatever other changes are going on with the NCAA, and it's a mess.
I was just also going to add to that, how important is this? This is a Cincy Reigns. If you look behind you, Cincy Reigns is there. Cincy Reigns is labeled here. This is a benefit or a telethon or a subathon or whatever you want to call it to bring awareness and bring members into the fold for Cincy Reigns. How important is this on the financial side to continue to keep things relevant as the landscape is changing?
Yeah, no, it's a great point. And I saw somebody posted a question just to clarify about the revenue distribution. So Bearcats and UCF and Houston and BYU, right? We all joined at the same time. We were on a half share for a couple of years. The year we're in now and next year, the Pac-12 4 corner schools that came in for next year are going to be on a full share next year in their first year. So different agreements were made at different times, right? And that's just kind of the way things unfolded, and still obviously a tremendous deal on the finance side for the Bearcats to be stepping up that quickly. When I was at TCU, they were on a 5-year ramp up at plan to full share over their time in Big 12 entrance. So just to clarify that, but yeah, I mean, Cincy Reigns has done a tremendous job of continuing to allow us to be competitive in the ever-changing market, as we've seen, right? I mean, it's just daily Twitter updates on what the transfer portal has brung, what the market has set for all of our sports in terms of student athletes that can earn their NIL money. And we're really fortunate to have a partner in Cincy Reigns and Ken Tracy and Brian Fox and that entire team that has established a great rapport with our donors, a great rapport with our coaches and our student athletes to really demonstrate that they bring value to the table other than just, yeah, of course they need financial support, and 513 Day is a perfect example of a time to drive that. But they do provide more than just financial support. They really invest in our student athletes and try to equip them with the knowledge and resources and business connections to position them to be successful moving forward and to make Cincinnati an attractive place to be a student athlete. So they've been tremendous for us, and we look to have that continue regardless of what the landscape brings moving forward.
Here's an interesting question. Do the shares stay the same, or will they be smaller with the addition of the 4 new schools in terms of what you agreed on?
So I think overall, I guess you could say they got a little bit smaller for everybody, just because there was some additional money that came in from the television partners. It wasn't 100% dollar for dollar to keep everybody 100% whole, but it was very close. So minimal reduction there.
Keegan, you got anything else?
I'm all good. He's given us a ton.
Yes, that's I was very excited when I saw your name pop up on the list that we were going to get to talk to you about a lot of good stuff that maybe we don't get into as often as we should. But your world is a critical one, and we are very lucky to have you on board. And like I said, the best thing that came out of a trip to Tulane in a decade.
Well, I appreciate that and everything y'all do for us here at Bearcat Journal. It's great to have a following and a voice for our fans, and the access that you give is awesome. So thank you very much.
Appreciate it. And I wanted to get my joke in that I was thinking about earlier, and that was that I still don't believe Rutgers is getting a full share in the Big Ten, and they've been there for a decade.
For sure. Appreciate it.
Thanks, John. Appreciate
Thanks,
you. All right, there we go. John Daniel. Look, that might be